Welcome back to my channel. My name is Allison, and today I wanted to share with you all, it's kind of niche, but I wanted to share resources that can really help with reading while being dyslexic. So I love reading. I love to talk about reading on this channel. And in the 5th grade, I was diagnosed as dyslexic. Between 5th grade and when I was 19, I was tested every few years to see if I would grow out of it. Honestly, I don't have kids. I don't know if childhood dyslexia is still a thing they diagnose, or if that was an old thing that now they don't, do anymore. But when I was going to school in the late 90s and early 2000s, childhood dyslexia was a different thing than being dyslexic. And, they wanted to test to see if I grew out of it. I didn't. So I needed and got resources and support through the 5th grade all the way through my university years. One of the main resources outside of my school, my public school and my university, was the recording for the blind and dyslexic. That's what it was called back then. Now, when I looked it up, it's called Learning Ally. I will definitely link that organization down below in the description box. They were a huge resource for me and a really big game changer. They were my first exposure to audiobooks, books on tape, books on CD. I would have all of my textbooks down to my algebra book on a recorded, device, typically these big clunky CD players. Again, I was in public school and elementary and high school in the 90s and early 2000s. And then when I was in university, I got them in more of MP3 format. But anyways, audiobooks were a huge game changer for me, and they made all the difference in being able to read. So when I say that I have read a book, it means that I have the audiobook in my ears and I'm physically following along, reading as the way a dyslexic person reads through the book or on my e-reader. And when I say that when I do my monthly counts or my annual counts on this channel of audiobooks, novels and books that I've read, and then if there's graphic novels or something like that. When I say an audiobook, for me, that means a book I purely listen to. So I listen to it when I'm driving or on a walk or something like that. I don't actually have the physical book that I'm following along with. That's the way of being a dyslexic reader that I have found most successful. But what that means is that every single book that I read, I need to acquire 2 forms of that book. And acquiring 2 forms of that book when I was reading about a book a month was not a big deal. Now that I'm reading several books a month, it starts to get really expensive. So I want to go through some of my top resources that have been so helpful in helping me keep up my reading habit, but also not really affecting my pocketbook and derailing my low buy year, which I'm doing, which I will also link some of the videos on my low buy year down below in case that is interesting to you as well. So this past summer, I started looking for hobbies and habits to help me break the doom scrolling. So scrolling on my phone through social media, shopping for things that I don't even end up buying, that type of scrolling, or even just binge watching Netflix were habits that I didn't want to be doing anymore. So in the summer, living in the desert here in Joshua Tree, you spend a lot of hours indoors in the summer, and then in the early morning and the late evening is sort of when you can go outside. Just a lot of time, and I found myself spending too much time on my phone. Wasn't healthy for me. It's not how I want to be spending my days. And so I got really into reading. And so when I started reading more than a book a month, I started really noticing that it started getting expensive. I've had an Audibles membership for years, 13 years, because again, this is how I read as a dyslexic person. Acquiring a library book and then using my, my credit in Audibles that is $14.99. It didn't really ever seem that expensive. But when I started reading, 4 to 6 novels a month, which is a ton for me. I know that's small in booktube world, but it's a ton for me. It started to really add up. And so I really had to start figuring out, how can I continue this habit that's way healthier for me and my mental state than doom scrolling and just being on my phone or binge watching Netflix for hours. How can I continue this habit, but also, again, not spend a bunch of money, and it can also support my low buy year. So let's get into my top resources. You're not going to be shocked. The number one resource is a library. You've got to get a library card if you haven't already. I've always had a library card. I love going to my public library, but again, I wouldn't frequent it like I frequent it now. It is such a clutch resource. It's a beautiful community resource that we have access to, especially in the United States, that you have access to millions of free books. And so you got to go to your library, open up your library card. Most libraries now have apps where you can, be on your app at home, looking for books, putting books on hold so they're ready for you. If you've never put a book on hold, it's totally for free. Your library within your county will transfer the books if it's at another branch, and then will notify you when it's on this little shelf and ready for you to pick up. It's such a great day when your library books that you put on hold are ready for you to pick up. So you've got to get that library card. But once you have your library card, what I started digging into this summer is all of the other apps that your library card gets you free access to. The primary one that I use is the Libby app. And my Libby app gets me access to ebooks and audiobooks. There's also Hoopla and Cloud Library. Hoopla, I personally don't have access to with my county library card. I know there's some hacks where you can get these other library cards. I just haven't needed to, honestly, because the Libby app works so well for me. But that's why I wanted to list them all out for you, is because maybe your library card will work with Hoopla, but not Libby, and vice versa. There's also Cloud Library. I have mild success with Cloud Library, but it is a resource that I use, so I wanted to mention it. Just check out these apps. Download your library app once you have your library card, but then also these additional apps where you'll upload your information from your library card to get, again, access to thousands of free audiobooks and digital books. So once you have all of these apps and access to them, I also really recommend having an e-reader. So this Kindle was my husband's. It's 10 years old. And he would use it when we would travel or whatnot. I started using it because through Libby, I can get ebooks for free, and you can download them and you can read them straight on the app. But again, being off of a phone is really important habit for me in my reading journey of why I read so much. Also, I'm on the computer all day long for my job, so I really want to have time where I'm not on a blue screen. And so this is has that paper white setting where it doesn't strain your eyes like a tablet would or off of your phone. So I really love reading on this Kindle for that reason. And also just flagging that, this is an old e-reader and it still works just fine with the Libby app. For some reason I was like, is it actually gonna work? And had to go through the settings and figure it out. But once I did, I could go, I get the book through my Libby app on my phone. And then once I've checked it out on the Libby app on my phone, I can go into my Kindle and read it here. I hope that makes sense. Anyways, your phone app for Libby, and I'm assuming for Hoopla too, can speak and work with an e-reader so that you can stay off if you're also enjoy reading in the paperwhite version. So that was great that I had this Kindle in my home that I could adopt from my husband because he didn't really use it that often anyways. Check out eBay. instead of going on Amazon and buying, a Kindle, pretty expensive and yada yada, like check on eBay to find one, because again, this thing is 10 years old and it works great with those apps. So I just wanted to highlight that, like, I'm not like, you don't have to go buy a brand new Kindle. See if someone has one, that they've upgraded to the latest greatest, like Paperwhite or whatever version. Like maybe they have this old version sitting in like that technology drawer that we have of old cell phones. Or check out eBay and see if you can find one used, because it's been again another avenue that I can get a free book from, which has been great, because I wouldn't want to check out a ebook from the Libby app and read it on my phone. So like I mentioned in the beginning, I have been using Audibles since like 13 years ago. I went back to school in around my like early 30s, late 20s, and I needed my audiobooks because again, that's how I read as a dyslexic person. And at the time, Audibles was brand new. There was no app. And again, that was just 13 years ago, but I've been a member of Audibles ever since then. But as I am finding and looking for ways to use Amazon less, divest from Amazon, I have been looking into Zigzag. So this month, actually, I canceled my Audible subscription and I'm looking into Zigzag, and the prices are super comparable, and in some regards, the prices are even cheaper. So sometimes I have found that I can find the physical book, at the library, but Libby doesn't have the audiobook, so I still need access to being able to buy audiobooks to be able to read the novels that I want to read. So Audibles has been great for me, but nowadays, really trying not to use Amazon as much, if at all. So going over to Zigzag, and I'm gonna check it out. If you've used Zigzag, I would love to know in the comments below. Like, let me know, have you liked it? Have you been enjoying it? I know it's been around for years. I just, when you sign up for a membership, you just get used to your habits. You have your apps and you just are using it in that way. And that's the habit I've had with Audibles. But I'm breaking up with them this month and I'm going to be trying out Zigzag, and would just love to know if you have any experience and if you like it. Lastly, there are many used book big web dealers. And so I will link some of those shops down below. If you are looking for a book, let's say many times I can find the audiobook for free on Libby, but my library doesn't have the physical book, or I don't have the ebook option of it. I can start looking to see if I can buy the book used, because that is typically, cheaper. It's like $7.99 instead of $15.99 or something like that. There's just the ability to try to map out how to get these two forms of the book as a dyslexic person that you need to be able to just read the book is really helpful to check out some of those used book dealers. And if you are trying to not shop as much on Amazon, hopefully that will help you as well. So I will leave some of those bookshops linked down below for you. So all these resources are so helpful in keeping costs down, especially if you are chewing through multiple books a month and you're on a low buy year, or you're just you don't need to be spending that money because you have great community resources like your library where you can get your books for free, or at least half of them for free. And so again, as a dyslexic person, we are used to, if you are dyslexic watching this, we are used to things being a little more challenging, taking more time, having to find our way in this, the normal way of reading doesn't work for us. And so we have to find our way through this world in being able to do things that we enjoy, like reading books. So I am used to it as being, again, diagnosed as dyslexic when I was in the 5th grade. I'm used to things I find my own way and have to do things a little differently. But it is a challenge, and I'm not gonna say it's not as easy as just going to your library, finding a book, checking it out, and going home and reading it and being like, I got a free book. with all these resources, there is a lot of like mapping out timelines, right? Because it's like you put your book on hold and it's not going to show up at your library for 10 days, but you have access to the audiobook right now on Libby, and you can only have the audiobook for 14 days on Libby until you have to go back in line for it. So there is definitely some challenges. Or when I'm at the library and I'm just like shopping around and looking for a new book to read, I will have my phone out with me checking to see, oh, this book sounds interesting. Is it available on Libby? Is it available on Cloud Library, the audio version? Can I get it for free? If it's not, okay, am I interested enough in this book to buy the audio version? Because I have at least half of the book for free for me, the physical one. So it's definitely like time consuming. You have to map it out, but there are resources to be able to help get the entire book for free, which always feels like a win when like it comes available on Libby and you can pick it up at your library at the same time and you got both halves for free. It always feels like a win. And even if I can only get half of the book for free through one of these resources, it's just been really helpful in having me be able to enjoy this habit that I have of reading that's breaking my screen time or my binge watching time. And I've just really been enjoying reading more. Although it is a challenge with managing all the different resources and timelines of when books become available, it has been super helpful. The other piece to just acknowledge, because I'm not trying to put like a cherry on top of being dyslexic by any means, is oftentimes like the hottest new book that just got released this month. Like if you're wanting to get your books for free or used or through your library, like oftentimes, those have long waits. So just acknowledging that sometimes when I'm hearing other booktubers talk about a book that sounds really interesting to me and I want to read it, and I go and check all my apps and see if I can put the book on hold at the library and check Libby for it, it's like, a 7-week waiting time or something like that. And maybe if it's one of my favorite, a book by one of my favorite authors or something like that, like Barbara Kingsolver, like I'm just going to buy that book. I know it, and I have no qualms with spending money on books. I think it's a great thing to actually spend money on. But when you're having to acquire, again, two versions of every book you want to read, it just starts to get really expensive. But sometimes it's totally fine if you're not wanting to read when everyone else is reading that book. Or what I have found, because I'm now churning through a lot of the books that were those really popular books last year, because now through the library app and the Libby app, the wait times are super low, or they're available right away when I want to check them out. All right, those are my resources and tips. I really hope they're helpful for you. I know that it is, it's a challenge to be dyslexic and navigate through the world, but there are resources that can help us be able to manage it and to still really enjoy reading, because reading is just so enjoyable. But if you have other tips, especially if you are dyslexic, please leave them in the comments below. I know I personally would appreciate them, and hopefully other people that find their way to this video will find them helpful as well. If you want to follow along with my reading journey or my low by year, I would love it if you subscribe to this channel or gave this video a thumbs up. Or you can follow me at Simply Allison over on Instagram if you want to see more about my life and behind the scenes, living in Joshua Tree, reading, going for hikes. That's where I post that kind of content over there on Instagram, and would love to see you over there. And other than that, I will see you in my next video, and I hope you have a really great day. Bye, everyone.